Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Absolute BSS, the Casualpetitive podcast about Bandai Namco's Battle Spirits Saga. Unfortunately, Cam could not be with us today. Angel couldn't be with us either, so you've just got me as your host. I'm recording this on my piece of shit computer, so if everybody's faces are lagging and glitching and not looking right or matching up with the audio, I'm really sorry. If you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, it doesn't matter at all. So just pretend I didn't say anything. Uh, if you are watching this on video, you have seen that we do have some special guests with us today. So we have, I don't know that I mentioned my name in case you don't know who I am. I'm Eric, and one of the hosts. But then we have Andrew, who's back with us yet again. And then we have two new special guests with us today, Brennan and Travis. So if you two would like to introduce yourselves, Brennan, why don't you go first? Just kind of introduce yourself to our audience here and let us know your background with card games and sort of your involvement with the little group here.
Yep. So yeah, my name's Brennan Falkenberg. I'm a judge for the game as well. Uh, Background in card gaming really isn't too extensive. I was more of a sports player growing up, and then video games, and then more recently, yeah, moved into golf. But we were kind of looking for something to do when the weather was kind of crap and couldn't go play golf, so started picking up Pokemon and One Piece. Enjoyed the like back and forth of the games, but I had kind of my own annoyances with the games, and then we were introduced by our shop owner to the trial decks and printed proxies of Battle Spirits before release, and have been hooked on it ever since.
Yeah, Andrew was saying that you were the one who
Yeah,
got
the
him
cards I
into
used
it.
to been playing. Yep. Yeah, I was there for a One Piece night, I think, if I remember right, and Scott was talking about this game, talking about Battle Spirits, and gave myself and a couple other people some trial decks, and then my girlfriend Lauren was there, and she watched us play a game. I actually played a game against a little kid that was there just to figure out a new game to play. It was Nova against a yellow Fabled Beast kind of aggro flood deck, and then I pulled off a Big Bang, threw out like 6 Star Dragons for nothing, and won the game off of it. Okay, this is cool. I like that.
Against a little
The big
kid.
play. And then yeah, it's just yeah. He was well. No, he was probably like 13, 14. Yeah, he was good though. Like he picked up the game really quick and kind of had me in a bad spot until I was set up to pull off the Big Bang. Um,
Oh, nice.
but so yeah, that was kind of like how I got into the game, and then a couple weeks of bouncing between that and One Piece, trying to pull Andrew away from Pokemon because I was tired of playing that and him beating me and everything. Yeah, that's kind of where it ended up. We spent I think we had a core group of 6 that would on to every Tuesday we would go to our local Bulldog community gaming and play with proxies, or I kept using the trial deck. I had 2 of those slammed together and threw in the Mars Dragon and White Hole Dragon, and it was keeping up. They're doing red aggro things, kind of keeping up with the white control decks that everyone had built. And I think there was a couple of purple and a couple of yellow, just piles. Had no idea what we were doing. They're just a bunch of piles. But it was fun, and we did that for probably almost 2 full months. Every Tuesday, learning the
Nice.
game until Vegas. But it just I didn't have a chance to go out to Vegas and do all that, so we were just learning it here in Indiana.
Very cool. Well,
But
you've
yeah,
been to
that's
Will
some
say his
events.
my background in
introduction,
this.
his introduction for me was Brennan pretty much had all the cards to play like the full winning launch event white control list, and I had the demo deck. So I'll go ahead and let you put the pieces together as to how those matches went. So my introduction was a little rougher than most.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was payback. It was payback for all the Pokemon games.
He
His
caught you fast
Lugia
though. That's
deck
that's
and
the problem.
yeah.
And what about you,
Hmm.
Travis? How introduce yourself a little bit to the audience. Let us know how you got into the game.
So I'm Travis Hoagland. I'm a player for Battle Spirits. I've played Pokemon for about 5 years now, but I was just never really getting through to the spots I wanted to be in, the day twos and the things like that. And so I had known Scott since he was a league professor for Pokemon. And when he opened up his own store, I kind of followed him to it. He and I were talking actually a year ago almost about Battle Spirit Saga, how I was ready to jump to a new game, trying to figure out what game I wanted to jump to, and he introduced me to it. Unlike Brennan and Andrew, I didn't have the chance to do all the preset one testing. I actually got my first deck, and my first games were actually release weekend. I went to Bulldog that Tuesday with the white with like a white red starter deck combo thing. Went 0-3, of course, and then next week showed up with Nova, did Nova things, and was like, "Yep, nope, I can play this game." So it was pretty straightforward, fortunately for me, and everything has just kind of been like, I love the community that we have at Bulldog. I love the community that Battle Spirits has created, the traveling aspect of it. It just gives me a lot to do, when there isn't a lot to do sometimes, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. There's
won that
always something
week
to work towards.
with Nova, didn't you?
I won that week with Nova, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I remember that. We were like,
that
"Who the hell
was
is this kid?"
Yeah, that was the week that I took down Jay, and all of a sudden everyone was like, are we sure we know what we're doing?"
Yeah, we all had. I think if I remember right, like most of us were on like either a purple pile or a white pile, and I think only 2 were playing yellow. And
I know Zach
Andrew
was
might
on
have
red.
been on red at the time as well. Who?
Zach was on
Oh,
Gagana
Zach.
Rex aggro. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He's only ever owned red cards until just now, and he switched to
Yeah.
blue. Yeah. So yeah, it was a ripe field for Nova to come in and smoke everybody.
Yeah, you
Well,
trapped me. Now I'm stuck getting dragged to Atlanta with you.
it sounds like Nova was kind of a
Atlanta
key
and
card that
Portland
really
back to
got you
back.
guys into the game, huh?
I
Yep.
made a meme a couple of, I guess, a month or two ago now. We had another newer player show up, finally got all of his pieces for his Nova deck, and won the first week he had a full Nova deck. And so I created the office meme where Michael is shaking the hands of the boss, and just tagged it, "New players, Nova winning."
Yep. They always high roll their matchups and in locals, and just I mean, the Nova does Nova things if you don't really have like an early aggro, or if you don't have a way to, bouncing back once he comes out, like you're just SOL, and the matchup lottery is in their favor. And I think most of those times too is they got me because I was running in like a green mid range kind of like pressure deck. And if I get delayed at any point in time because they have burning force, or I just, don't see optimal draws, it's like, well, now we're going into a late game, and here comes Nova. You're lucky I got you down to 1 health on turn 2.
In all
I show.
fairness, nobody really knows what Brennan takes to locals, so most of the time somebody brings a suboptimal deck.
I don't think
Brennan
Brennan knows what Brennan takes
Brennan
to
likes to
locals.
test the fun stuff.
Well,
Yeah, usually my
speaking
local deck is made right before I leave to go to locals.
speaking of fun stuff and winning deck lists, I think we should move into the deck list that we have been working on as a team. I think we're finally ready to reveal it because it's already kind of been revealed to the world, anyways. So Andrew, uh, we were testing a bunch of different decks, and then Andrew was like, "I've got the sauce," and he came into. We went into TTS, and I was playtesting this like red mid range deck that I was pretty sure I was going to take to Atlanta. And then he just kicked my ass with this yellow deck, and I was like, okay, this yellow deck is kicking my red deck's ass, so like, I think it probably is pretty strong. And so we all started playtesting that, messing around with it, and then we went to Atlanta. We qualified to go to Portland. We just got back from Portland, and Andrew. The rest of us did pretty well, but Andrew, especially, you landed in the top 16. So I've got the Eggman events website pulled up right now, and here you are right here. You're at the bottom of the list, but you're on the list. And so walk us through. We all played the same deck with some minor changes, a few different cards that we played, but walk us through your final version that you landed on and took with you to Portland this past weekend and got 16th place with. You don't have to go through all the cards, but just kind of give us an overview of what the deck's trying to do and kind of like your thoughts on how it stacks up against the field that we saw.
Yeah. So, thank you guys for trusting me. I was not a yellow player before this. I
Me
always
neither.
made purple, played purple all set one and set two. Um, I think I took yellow to locals one time. I ended up winning that locals with yellow, and I was like, okay, this is pretty fun. It's like right when Dual Eagle came out, just kind of cool things. And I've always kind of liked the concept of like blessed and doing cool stuff, especially like when Arcana Joker came out and the unblockable stuff came out. Uh, that was a little bit more consistent than the God Piece package. I thought yellow had a lot of potential, and then come along Genbu in set three, and it just all kind of fell into place. And I was like, okay, no, this is actually pretty scary. So I got to watch a little bit of how the meta was shaping up, especially after Utrecht, where yellow just flooded the field and really just took down the event. I thought it was a really good meta call into it because it was kind of like the introduction as to what power Genbu can hold, especially into a meta where everyone thought Gale was going to be the boogeyman and nobody was thinking about playing vanillas. So super good medical into that. And I was like, okay, people will probably catch on and this deck probably gets a little bit worse. Until I actually started like building and testing with it and just realized it's really consistent. And especially the package that we brought. So it's different than what the TD guys were playing. They were playing more of the Crocodile, more blessed units, using Hex Knight as the draw engine where I wanted to go a little bit more low to the ground, just for a little bit more of an aggressive strategy early that allowed us to kind of have a little bit more reduction on board and kind of get set up a little bit faster, which was really good into kind of like the red mid range style of deck who can flood out really fast. I just wanted to be able to reinstate a board just as fast as they can put out their creatures. So that's where the thought process of putting the two drops in. The original list in Atlanta, we kind of played some different things. I tried to tech it a little bit more towards red. So we were playing like elephant in the list and some things like that. And I ended up going 3-1 into red in Atlanta. The only game I actually lost was there was one red player who decided to put in strong draw into his red list and caught me way off guard. And Apollo Dinos can get to 12K. There's a surprise for you guys. So we uh we learned that one the hard way, but other than that, it was a super good call. And I think what made it even better is I think looking at like the breakers and everything, I was gonna be right on the cut for top 16 if I would have won one more game. So I went 5-3 in Atlanta with the yellow list. So it kind of kept it under the radar, and everyone was like, yeah, yellow underperformed. Maybe yellow's in a rough spot with all this red running around. So what are we going to do to counter the red? We're going to build white. And I said, this is perfect. So coming into Portland, um, we knew we were already sitting on a good pile from testing. And it was just going to be kind of teching it into what the field was running. So I know your guys' sideboard was a little bit different than mine, compared to what you guys thought to take for a couple tech cards versus what I just ended on. But for the main thing, we were pretty much playing the same list. So I set it up at 52, and made some changes. We went to 4 Freestall and 4 Marta Bunny. Originally, I was playing 3-3 and then 2 Sword Angel, just because I wanted to have that free card that I could extend the board out with in Atlanta. But looking at trying to go into more like the white control style of format, you don't really need that last minute extension. You can afford to play just a little bit slower. So going up to the 4 Bunny and 4 Freestall, I thought was the correct decision for that. And then I took the list up to 52 because I wanted to run Aravata. Um, Aravata actually became like a super annoying card for people because you have to get rid of it. It's a fabled beast, so it does multiple things in your deck. You play it when you have Phantasmal, he draws you a card. When destroyed, if you have Cathedral out, he ramps you a core. And unless they take all the cores off of it, he will always get you a 2 cost back from trash. It doesn't matter if they destroy it in main step, battle, they use flood stream on it, he's always going to get you that 2 drop back. So, that was kind of my thought process on going up to 52, just because of the utility that card provides, especially in our list. And he can do some really cool things with the God Beast that I put in. Uh, the God Beast was such a last minute decision, and the only reason I put in God Beast is because I had a total of 4 Genbu, and I was letting Travis borrow one of them. So I had 3 Genbu and decided to go 1 God Beast because Travis needed the other Genbu to play his list. Um, all in all, I think God Beast worked out really well. I also played God Beast in Atlanta, and he just kind of puts your opponent in a little bit more of a tricky situation. And it really just skill checks your opponent because when you have your 2 costs that can't be blocked by level 2s, but you have Eagle that can't be blocked by level 1s, and then you have Genbu out, and Genbu can make something unblockable. So they have to really control the level of their vanilla. Or the really cute play that you do is you make your God Beast unblockable, and 11K pretty much gets over every vanilla in the game, even the tank mobile that the white players are playing. So it just puts him in a really weird situation to kind of play around it, and I thought it was a really good tech option to put into the deck as well that you weren't going to see in pretty much the standard yellow list and a lot of the other yellow lists that were in the field. We did decide to go with the Enterprise. There was a couple other options that I was thinking about as well. I had tested the Ryu a couple days before, um, and I was about to tell you guys to throw it in instead of the Enterprise, but having the red armor and the purple armor ended up being a little bit more viable than what I thought. And our deck ramps, I think, extremely well compared to the other yellow list because we can get those more creatures out. Once you get the freestall out with your 2 drops, you're pretty much swinging into them anyways to try to get like chip damage, or they block it and you're going to draw a card and ramp. So it just puts your opponent kind of into a pressured situation to where they're going to give you resources either way. Um, and with that, like, being able to ramp that much and being able to ramp that much early means to, like, the point to where you do get the Enterprise, it really doesn't feel bad playing the Enterprise. He does take 4 cores, so he is a little bit core hungry, but 4 cores for the utility and protection that he provides is insane, especially once you get the Flagellum on board, and that is by far the MVP of the deck. If you haven't watched the video that TD did on explaining their deck, Flagellum is busted. It's so good. And pairing that with Exhaust Nexus and just being able to constantly wipe the board and clear off um, basically all of their tempo and 2 magic cards with 1 spirit is insane. So that was really something that kind of got me hooked on the list. I played against Flagellum and I said, man, this has a lot of potential. What can we do with this? And I kind of went off of what we were seeing in like Utrecht, and I saw a lot of people were jumping up to like 4 Flagellum. I thought that was a little bit much. It kind of seemed like it was a little bit bricky. So I went to 2 Flagellum, and then I put 1 in the side, just mainly for the mirror match. It's insanely good in the mirror match, and it's insanely good into red because if they don't have an answer for it, it just does so much work into the red matchup as well. Kinda going back through the list as well, another MVP card is we actually went with the 2 Godslings in main, and there's nothing more satisfying than pulling off just a crazy Godsling play. Um, they swing in with Fang Wong, and you block with Marta Bunny, and then Godsling. So your bunny is killing off a 10-drop machine that's 15,000 VP, ready to like ruin your life, right? And you just completely obliterate it with your 2 cost bunny.
Brennan and I were
And
talking about
the
this at
best
the
part,
event in that
oh,
it's always the bunny. You always use the bunny to do it because that always
oh yeah,
it always
Yeah,
feels the
It's
worst.
symbolic.
Yeah.
I did do a big play. It actually won me a game. Against well, it helped seal the game against Kai. Is I swung in with freestall, and he's like, he just wants card draw, and they're on the Mandango deck, and you don't want card draw, so I swing it in, and he's like, whatever, yeah, let's do it, and then he went to block with I believe it was his Aegis. And then he bounced something else, and I was like, "Oh yeah, well, Godsling, get rid of that Aegis. You're not bouncing me anymore." He just kind of looked at me and was like, "Oh, crap." But yeah, so that was my Godsling. My Mara Bunny took some souls at Atlanta.
Oh yeah,
Round 1, it got a
I've got
Nova.
a
Round 2, it got a Turbo Rex. Round 3, it got no. So the first 3 rounds, I don't maybe 2 and 3 got swapped there, but it got a Nova, a Turbo Rex, and a Fang there right off the rip. It was
I
fun.
literally have like a hit list of cards that I want to kill with Godslaying, and I think I knocked at least like 6 of them out. And
Yep.
the best one, dude, is just all these red players. They're like, "Yeah, Andromeda confront," and I'm like, "Yeah, you're not doing this anymore. I'll just Godslaying that away." And they're like, "Oh, oh,"
Something
Yep.
and then they
something that
look through
people
and they're like,
We were talking about it too.
"Well, your
They
Griffin's
do
at
the same
8K. I
thing.
can't do anything." Yeah,
Yeah.
it's awesome.
people
They do the same
Um,
thing every time you Godslay. They look down their hand, they shuffle around a little bit, they look at the card, they look back at their hand, they look at Godslaying again, they go at their hand, they go, I got nothing. And they sit back and they're just defeated.
it's really funny when you're sitting there. I did this more this weekend than I would care to admit. Where my opponent swung in a Camellia Whip, and I would block with a Marta Bunny, and then God slain it, and they look at me like, "Oh, now you're gonna go aggro. Oh, now I'm in trouble." And
Yeah.
and then it resolve, and I'm like, "Okay, cool."
Get that guaranteed
it's
chain
a
trade.
it's an insanely good card that I think plays a lot more value into our list than it does basically the other yellow list that you saw from the event. Just because we are that lower to the ground style of deck, anyways.
Yeah, the two
Kind of
drop
getting
the
into
two
the
drop package
sideboard.
really
Oh,
enables that.
oh yeah, 100%.
It also, what I
The
like too is,
sideboard.
I would say you cycle in, what you're talking about earlier with Arvital, like that's not only can you get that crazy ramp off of Phantasmal or, um, Blessed Cathedral when you play him, and you also get another card back from trash. Like so, he can be a +3 or +4, like he's just insane value. So you throw that in there, it just lets you keep cycling. But and then another for me, another critical card that had so much utility, and we talked about this. Well, Andrew didn't end up running it, but it was the core theft. Just using it offensively instead of defense, like that really threw some people off. Like when I had a dead card in hand, I was like, yeah, okay, well here's just pitch 1 or 2. Now everything you have on board, because you thought you left a level 2 to block my blessed. Well, now everything's level 1. That's unfortunate for you here. Give me back 3 life. It was great. God
Yeah,
slaying,
absolutely.
core theft, they were fun.
I think core theft was
For
just a perfect call for this meta too. If we really want to dive into that, like I don't think it would have done much last weekend in Atlanta. Looking at kind of what I played against, what the meta looked like, but I think this weekend there was a couple of red aggro lists. Well, you core theft for 4, drop 1 card, and you're killing a Dino Man. Or if they don't core up their Gagano, you're taking a Gagano just out of the blue. But I think it was the perfect call for this weekend specifically.
All right. Getting into
Yeah,
the
I have to agree with
sideboard
that.
a little bit. So my sideboard was obviously a little bit different than yours because you guys did put in the core theft. But I was at 3 Floodstream. Pretty much if I'm playing against like white aggro or even just killing the red wall. If they're playing Dino Man and Camellia Whip, I can just Floodstream and get out of the red wall right on turn 2. So it was just really helpful. Floodstream is just an insanely useful card. I don't care what list you're playing, what color you're playing. It's a card that you need to include because it can literally be a lifesaver in multiple matchups. Um, I also put in the 2 Thorn Prison. I tried to figure out a way to put them in main. And it really just came to what do I value more, the Thorn Prison or the Godslaying? Um, and kind of with how we were playing the list, I felt like I could sustain a board healthy enough to where I could play Godslaying instead of the Thorn Prison. And then in the matchups to where I needed to see Thorn Prison, where I'm playing against like white and you want to make them use like all their suppressions and things to be able to keep your board state. Suppression's really good. It's really good into decks that are trying to go aggressive into you because it can be basically an ice shield for you. So it was very circumstantial when I put it in. Um, I think there is a world to where I might go back through and look at the list and include it in main. But for what it did this weekend versus what Godslaying did, I'd say it was pretty 50-50. And either way you go about it, I think it was going to be good. So I'm not mad that it was in the side. It might be something I would change later. Going into the next card, we played another Enterprise, mainly just for the red matchup. There was a game that I played against White Control. It was round 3 against Matt, who finished second in Atlanta, where I put in the other Enterprise because I knew he was running Dream Bomb today or that day instead of Inescapable Avalanche. Um, so I threw in the other Enterprise so I could see it early, set up my boards to just kind of get Flagellum online and just never get bounced and just completely control the game from that point on. Um, After Enterprise, we had the 2 Michaela, and Michaela is amazing. It's a card that's very slept on, and I think ultimately the Luster package in itself, it has a lot of potential, and it's had some really good placings in this meta. I think running more of the Fabled Beast list, it's just a super good sideboard card because there was literally one match where I played it and he beat me game 1. I didn't get to see the Genbu. I didn't play it, and it was against Matt actually, and he said, "I don't know if you're playing Genbu or not." I said, "Okay, well, I guess we'll see." So game 2, I played the Genbu and I beat him with the Fabled Beast package. And then game 3, he was like, "Okay, like I know what to prepare for." So he sides in. I think he said he sided in 4 vanillas. I could be wrong. And then I put in Michaela and took out the Genbu, and I literally played Luster against him. And he said, "What in the hell is this?" And
You
basically,
just
we
like
just went
swap
through
decks.
and completely played a different deck pretty much against him. And you just throw in your magics and just make Michaela like the ultimate value card, and it just goes crazy. Um, I
We
loved
really
it. I played I played against Joe Ray from TD. I believe that was round 4.
I think
It's
it was
either round
4 or
4 or
5.
round
Yeah.
5. Yeah, it was around 4 or 5, and he was on the same yellow list that all the TD guys were on, and just his Michaela, he flipped over 5 cards and didn't see a single magic, and I played my Michaela literally the next turn, and I saw 4 magics. So it's just kind of how it goes, but it's just insanely good in the mirror match. I had Flagellum online, and it was just kind of like, yep, you got everything you need. Your board set up, you got it. So it can just be one of those cards that really backbreaks the matchup, and a card that nobody's expecting you to really throw into your sideboard, which is honestly kind of crazy. But every time I played it, it seemed to catch people off guard, except for Joe because they were playing Michaela as well. Um, all in all, I think the list is insanely good. Uh, there's an argument, obviously, that TD just won with the other yellow list, but I think our list had a lot of potential. The only thing that really just slowed it down and killed it, I got high rolled by Gale round 1, and I don't care what list you're playing. If you get high rolled by Gale, it happens, right? There's nothing you can do about it. I won game
Yeah.
1. I blew him out of the water. Game 2, I just needed to see 1 spirit and 3 draws, and I didn't see one. And then game 3, he saw double Highlands, Jaeger, and it was just kind of on from there. Um,
And
and
that's
then the
battle
only other
spirits,
game I
baby.
lost, yes, literally. The only other game I lost was to Nova, and Nova just does bad things to yellow in general. Um, but he did end up
Yeah, because
making
you
top
can't
8.
find the
So
Enterprise to hide under.
yeah, shout out to Andrew for getting into top 8. George Machado too. That PPG Nova list was pretty spicy, and I'm glad they did well with it. And that was my only other loss on the day, so I can at least say I lost to a good opponent who is playing a really good list. And all in all, I'm very happy with how the list performed. And thank you guys again for trusting it. I literally was just kind of sitting there one day and was like, yeah, well, let's make a yellow list. Let's try it out. See how it goes. If we like it, we'll take it. If not, then I just go back to playing purple again. And it just ended up performing super well, and I'm really happy with how it turned out.
Yeah, I threw everything I could think of at the yellow list. I think in the beginning we had a green, we had Gale built, you had a purple build, and then we had a red, like 2 different red builds. And then we were like, well, yellow's good in the Gale, so Andrew built a yellow deck we tried and we started testing it, and the more it was tweaked and played, like I was never able to beat it. End up finding something else that was pretty close to 50-50 game 1. Game 2 became just a high roll. If either of us saw one key card first, then you would win. So it was still pretty good. But yeah, it was basically we don't know what beats this deck consistently and easily. Like once Flagellum's established, like there's just nothing you can do. If you don't have 2 to 3 dream bombs in hand, you're SOL.
It feels
SOL.
like it feels like consistently the one thing that beats this deck is itself. Like,
Yeah.
I know that sounds like a cop-out thing to say, but I think that's a lot of what I ran into this weekend. And the losses that I had last weekend was the same thing. I had half my deck in my hand, and all 4 ice shields were in the rest of my deck, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, outside of
Or
that,
you find 3 Flagellum and 0/5 cost or higher magic.
Right. Like
That was
you're
fun.
sitting here and you're like, I've got a good hand, just can't find anything.
Yep.
And that's gonna happen. I don't think there was anything I would change to the list just because of that.
Yeah, no, I think if anything, it was just not able to get the dozens of hours of reps in, like some of the other top cut players were able to. I think that's really the only thing would like to redo over the last month, but it just wasn't possible to happen. So I can at least say, like, looking back over Atlanta and Portland, I don't have any like glaring like unoptimal plays. Like, sure, game 1 against Emmy and his Gale and uh, Gale Nova deck at Portland. Like, I ditch Enterprise off a strong draw because all I've seen from him is Gale and a Ritual Fire, and then next turn he Novas off Schottenjäger. I'm just like, oh, okay. So
There,
that's how that one ended.
there was a few
But then he
misplays
just
I
high rolled
made.
Gale again game 2, so I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, it is what it is. So that's back to back. Atlanta had Thomas round 1, which he beats me off of a game 1 top deck Thorn Prison, and then but yeah, no, Emmy just ran away with round 1 at Portland. Sent me to Shadow Realm early.
There were a few
But
things
I did get the win off of the Mandala deck that's supposed to stomp us. I had one card left in deck when I pulled out game 1. Game 2 he got it though. It just was I didn't see anything. There was 5 turns in a row where it was both of us was core draw pass. Even doing that once for our deck is terrible. I did it 3 turns in a row of core draw pass. But luckily, thankfully, we had about 5 or 6 minutes for game 3, and I saw all low end and just swung out, and it was 5 life to 2 life when we hit time. That was
I
pulled
ran
that
into,
one out.
yeah, I ran into the issue. I made some misplays this weekend, but a lot of that was just miscounting or not having the reps with the deck. Just kind of simple things that I think can get cleaned up with longer turnaround times, like between now and Worlds. There's plenty of time to get lots of reps in, finalize the deck list, make sure like all your numbers and play lines and everything like that are cleaned up, and then kind of just cruise control once you have that figured out.
I definitely think there were other ways I probably could have got more value and utility out of our 2-drop package. But they were, I was also still in board states where I needed to find that, that board wipe because I would say more than half of my games, I saw 2 Nexus maximum before the game was over. So I just was, trying to dig and find that extra utility and draw power out of forcing the freestyle and Mara Bunny stuff. But, if you're playing into white with Eagle or you're playing into do nothing, let you, do nothing, stall the Mandala, mill you out, red, blue, or just mono blue, like it's, you gotta, get really creative, try to find your value to get to the cards you need to pull the game out. But
Well, what
I'll
you're
say
talking about
the
right
most brutal matchup was that round 7.
what
You go ahead.
what you're talking about right now though with like the draw power issue, I do think that I'm really interested to try TD's yellow list with the hex, because they even talk about in their like deck overview that he's basically like your Nexuses 9 through 12. And so I'd be really interested to just try it out and see what I
Yeah.
think about it. But and maybe that's
Yeah,
kind of the
he's
differences
really
between the
good
lists,
for.
you know.
Yeah, I
think
played some yellow set 2 because I just wanted to play dual eagle set 2 a couple of different times, and it wasn't obviously you want to add him to that list. It just naturally your whole point is gaining a lot of life, so you have him out, you draw cards. Um, it just depends on when you see him. Kind of how the same thing. Like if you see him early and you can get some hits in, awesome, good, yeah. But I would always find him kind of mid game when they've got some kind of blocking established, and then at that point he just kind of sits there as a core hot, sitting on and eating one core for me. Um, so I mean, I definitely understand their side of it, and I mean the results speak for itself. But I just it was for me it was always the first card I would have cut from yellow when I was looking at yellow decks.
I was looking at it like what, and Eric, you and I were talking about like the night before we left for Portland, potentially putting them in, but we just didn't want to make that big of an adjustment. And I think the other thing too is the meta between Atlanta and Portland went from swing and make them block to I'm not swinging into yellow at all. So our entire 2-drop package where we're trying to draw cards that way kind of became irrelevant.
Yeah, it seems like people were really just kind of making us work for our cores. They were not, and I definitely experienced that all day in Portland. Was unless I was going up against an aggro deck, people were just not swinging at me.
Yep.
They were waiting for me to react or to act, and then I did feel a little core starved. But to your point, I think that's one reason I do like our 2-drop package is it can get you out of those situations. You can force them into situations where they have to give you cores through Blessed Cathedral, swinging in with a Freestall, swinging in with a Marta Bunny. You can actually do a little bit of ramping that way. So it was definitely nice that we had the option for the lower end package. But yeah, I am interested in trying the TD build just to see if there's any takeaways from there, because obviously they did super well with it. I mean, they're also that whole group really amazing players, so that definitely is part of it. So I'll have to pilot it the best that I can. But I think with my experience with this deck, I can definitely I understand where they're going with it and where they're coming from. So I think I want to try it out, see if there's any takeaways, that sort of thing. But so we kind of touched on this already, but I did want us to talk about our MVP cards on the day. So the cards that I've heard us, maybe we could just talk about it as a group instead of each of us, or we could kind of talk about our experiences. But it sounds like the two standout picks, obviously Flagellum, Exhaust Nexus. I don't even think we need to talk about that because it's obvious that that's an MVP combo. But as far as kind of spicy MVPs that maybe not everybody was running, we were kind of landing on Godslaying, and then Travis, Brennan, and I think we're running the variant with the Core Theft. So any other cards that kind of stick out as MVP cards, or do you think that those two were kind of the spiciest ones on the day for you? Whoever wants to talk about that.
I'll give you one that we've
Griffin.
touched on. Yeah. So Griffin's a big one because there's not a lot of vanillas that are getting over the 8K mark. And on top of that, it's a favorable beast that you can swing with. So it'll block for you if you're in the mirror. So it can take out a Dual Eagle or a Hippo or whatever you need to take out. No other list that I saw was playing Griffin. The other card that I used a lot defensively, almost to a comedic point, was Marta Bunny. And I know we talked about it a little bit earlier, but Marta Bunny had so much utility for me because it was a draw engine with freestall, it was a god slaying target, it was a Gembu target. Oh, and by the way, it can block when there's a Gembu on the field, so that, oh no, you're going to swing with this large thing. I'm going to block with my little bunny with one little core on it. I'm going to ramp a core, draw a card, draw another card because of freestall, and then all of a sudden I've got 4 cards and 2 cores because you swung with God Beast thinking you were okay.
Good old bunny.
So one thing I noticed too, I think Daniel Seidenberg may have touched on this a little bit more too, but yellow really doesn't play vanillas if you think about it. So if you have Phantasmal out on the board, the vanillas you are playing in yellow draw you a card, and then they're also Genbu targets. So whereas in other decks where you just play vanilla and it's kind of like, okay, here's this is to stop you. It's like, okay, I'm gonna play vanilla, but I'm also gonna get way more value out of this than what you're gonna get out of
Mm.
yours. And I think that's where like a big loop on the format is for yellow that pushes it over the top. Is yeah, vanillas aren't necessarily a dead card in the deck. It's also something that boosts your engine and increases your tempo.
That's a
Well,
really
if
good
you
point because Marta Bunny has like a hidden text that basically says on play draw a card, but also
Everything.
don't trigger a Star Blast draw. So it's
Well,
like
it's
Yeah. So on play, draw a card. On death,
yeah,
draw a card. Draw
yeah.
a card. Get a core.
If
Maybe
you
kill
have
something really big if you don't want it to die yet.
if you've got 3 Phantasmal Paradises and maybe 2 Blessed Cathedrals that are cored up in a
Oh, that
turn,
must have been
a
nice.
single turn, I did this in Atlanta only like once. You can in 2 turns. So me playing, you playing, back to me. In that entire sequence, I can draw 5 cards off of a bunny, and that's just the value that that brings is insane.
For sure.
Yeah, it's so good.
I think
I
we touched on pretty much the other MVPs, unless you had one, Eric.
Well, I do want to talk about core theft really quick because we kind of touched on it a little bit, but Travis and I kind of cooked that up. It was something that we had talked about in our little group chat, but we never really went anywhere with it. But we were sitting in a separate Discord while you and Brennan were in another room, in another Discord room, trying to figure out
Trying to talk you into going. That's
trying
what it
to
was.
talk Andrew into going, and then he makes top 16, which I knew was what was going to happen. Is
Yeah.
like the dude
And
who
that's
almost
how it
doesn't go.
works.
Yeah.
It's like in the rules. It's the unwritten rules of the road.
Yeah. Well, actually, really quick, you guys also like almost missed your flight too, right?
No, we missed. We
Well,
just got very lucky to get our refund.
Okay, so you
No,
did miss the
we
flight.
100% missed.
They
we
I was
missed our
walking
first
to
one.
mine. I was walking to my flight, and I hear over the intercom as I'm walking past what would be Brennan's gate, and they're like, "Last call for Brennan." I'm like, "Oh no!"
Yeah.
Gosh.
I got woken up. 20 minutes after boarding time should have started by a crying baby, and I was like, "Uh-oh." So I call Andrew, and I wake him up when I call him. So I feel like I had everything packed, so I grabbed it all, threw it in the car, and drove over to his place. And I was like, "Well, if we haul, we maybe get there closing the door." And I'm just like, this isn't looking good.
Yeah.
So I start looking for the next flight. I was like, "What we may be eating a $500 flight out there. Like that sucks, crap." But all right, what's our next options? We had like maybe all right, in 2 more hours there's this flight, and 4 hours there's this flight. And he's like, "Well, at that point, let's just do the 1 o'clock." All right, whatever. So I drive back to my house, um, and rebook I think it was the 1 o'clock flight or 1:50 flight, whatever it was. So I'll go ahead and rebook that. And I'm like, whatever, this sucks. This is terrible. Like I just threw $500 out the door because I didn't hear my alarms go off. And as soon as I get back to the house, I get a text update that our flight was delayed for like 30 minutes or something. So that made us eligible for the full refund. So we got the full
Oh.
refund and then rebooked our flights and ended up not losing any money on it. Just got in what 3 hours later than we normally would have. No, actually no. We should have been in at noon. We got in at 6:30. Yeah. So it was quite the ordeal.
Well, I'm
But still,
glad that
even
you
then,
all
like
made
Andrew's
it.
like, I just for various things going on. Oh, he got to the gate for our flight because the one I booked was a normal price. It was showing over $1,000 just for the one-way ticket for him. So he's like,
Oh
"Dude,
my
I just can't do
gosh.
this. Like that's stupid. Like it's $1,000. Yeah." And this is what we were talking about before we got that notification for the refund. So he's like, "Dude, I just can't do that. Like I'm basically paying $1,500 to get out to Portland. He's like, I just can't do that. That's just not smart." And I'm like, "Dude, that sucks, dude. I don't know what to say. Like that's so bad after the work. The whole point of driving down to Atlanta was to get to Portland. All that the month of work thrown out the window basically. And so like I'm at TSA checkout, and he calls me. I'm like, "Hey, what's up, man?" He's like, "Dude, I checked one last time and refreshed, and the flight popped up again at 470." He's like, "So I bought the
Whoa.
ticket. I'm on the way now." now. I was like, dude, we board in like 30 minutes. Good luck. And he ends up, he gets to the gate. He
made
gets
it.
to the gate like 5 minutes before boarding.
Wow.
It was quite the trip.
Andrew's weekend was just luck after luck after luck after luck, is what I'm hearing.
And it extended
So
into being able to
I'm,
draw your Phantasmal Paradise as well.
I am 2 for 2 on last minute decisions now. I finished 9th at PA when I got to the event center at 9:57, and the round 1 started at 10 o'clock, and then now this here in Portland. So if you don't see me until like 9:59 a.m. walking into Worlds, you know exactly what the plan is.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I hope you're
Last
not.
minute,
I hope
listen,
you're planning
last minute,
to.
There's no planning.
I was just gonna say, I hope you're planning to just
you
not
didn't
go to
decide to go
Worlds
to
and then you just
PA.
you just roll in.
She's like, oh, hey, guys.
Yeah, because him and one of our buddies from locals, it was 11 p.m. the night before PA when they're like, oh, yeah, let's go. Okay. So they did everything, left at 3 in the morning and drove straight there and then walked right into play.
It's so funny.
No, I'm not, not to be too loud about it, but he did get hard carried by Maduke.
We're not talking about PA though. So back to the MVP cards really quick. Core Theft. I want to talk about Core Theft because Travis and I kind of cooked that up the night before, made a last minute decision at like midnight or something to throw it in, which sometimes, as we were just talking about, sometimes those kind of decisions go really well. Sometimes they go really poorly. I think this one worked out really well. So Core Theft, I used it in almost every match. I didn't use it in every game, but I used it in every match at least once. And the funny
used
thing,
it every time I saw it.
yeah, it's such a good removal card. It's so like the other thing you need to remember about Core Theft is that I'll pull it up on the screen so our YouTube viewers can see it. The core goes to the trash and not the reserve. And so there were a couple moments where someone had the cores to maybe like Dream Bomb or do something in retaliation. I could remove a blocker while also diminishing their cores that they had available to play something in the flash step. I also like I could see a scenario where maybe they have the cores to ice shield on their spirits, and then you can remove them, and maybe they're not able to at that point. That didn't happen for me on the day, but that's definitely a possibility. But I killed so many things just because people would leave stuff at one core because I'm playing yellow. So it's like, what am I gonna do? And then Core Theft, and they're like, yeah, I guess that's a card.
Yep.
Such a cool card.
It's a card that, like,
I loved it.
My favorite matchup that I used that in was actually the red aggro. I played against 2 red aggro lists this weekend. One of them was in round 2 against Jesse Smith, and he played Gagano Rex, had 2 cores on his Dino Man, and moved one of them over to the Rex, so the Rex had 2. And my hand, I was telling you this, Eric, after that round or at lunch or whatever it was, and I looked down at my hand, and it's Floodstream, Ice Shield, Core Theft, like Genbu something else. And I was like, I can't discard 2 from this, so I had to just Core Theft away the Dino Man and just swing out, hoping I could heal enough. But it was one of those things where you can just, if you pluck a core off of something like Dino Man, they're not coring it up. The Fane, I don't think I actually ended up doing this because I just didn't have the cores. My opponent had a Fane at level 3 that I had the opportunity to potentially pluck down to level 1. Or level 2 to level 1, whatever it was. And what it would have done is, okay, now you're not getting the refresh, you're not getting the 2 additional life hit. And even if that's just a small fix, your Fane's out of my way for if I want to swing into you next turn. I have a turn to refresh, maybe find my Dream Bomb, whatever, and then kind of just create opportunities from there.
Yeah, that's a good point too, is the utility of it where like you're not even killing something, you're just removing enough cores to be able to do whatever it is you're trying to do. Like if you're trying to get something down to level 1 to get in with Eagle, you can do that. If you're trying to remove a vanilla spirit so your Genboot spirit can swing in, you can do that. So it's pretty sweet.
Talk about that too.
It hurts white too when they set up with their their vanilla up, and they're making an ice suppression play, and they leave that soul core with only maybe one other core on a spirit, and you're like, well, soul core is going to trash, so have fun with this one now.
I took out a
Or even like we said earlier, stripping down to level 1 so bless can't be blocked.
I took out a
It's such a good
Tankmobile
offensive card.
KV2. Do you guys know that card?
Refresh all
Yeah.
decks or something.
It's just a
Unfortunately, I know that card.
it's just a
It's a
huge
huge vanilla.
vanilla.
Oh, that's the vanilla. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Okay.
It goes up to 10k for 2 cores.
Yes,
And
yeah.
I was playing against someone, and they must have I think they maybe sided this in because I didn't see it in game 1, but then in game 2 they dropped it, and it was like when he dropped it, his expression on his face was kind of just this relief of like, okay, I can't be Genbooed, because I had Genbu and Hippo and stuff out, and he was like, okay, I'm safe now. And then I can't remember if he swung in with something. I think he swung in with Elephant that was all cored up, thinking like, all right, I'm going to swing in with everything. I'm going to refresh everything. And I core thefted the Tankmobile. And then he was still going to get his refresh, but he was like, oh no, like next turn, I'm just going to get destroyed.
I did the opposite. So there was a Namengard on board with 4 cores, and I just plucked 1 core off of it, and all of a sudden you're not refreshing, and now I have an open board.
Yeah,
You're not refreshing. You're not refreshing, and you're not getting the kill. So there's no 3 cores in 3 cards either. It's just all bad. Honestly, that's probably worse than a Dream Bomb, because the Dream Bomb, at least there's 4 cores going back to your reserve. Here, no, you just got 2 to work with now, unless you want to, self-destroy your Namengard, which is the ultimate feels bad as a white player.
Yeah.
I've had to do that once in Battle Spirits to survive a game, and it was one of the worst feels bad, like wasted card moments ever. I'd rather waste a misplay with a flash card doesn't have any valid targets than self-destroy a Namengard.
Yeah, you definitely really want to draw those cards and get those cores off of it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about memorable moments from the event. Just pick. It could be like something really bad that happened, a really bad misplay, or it could be something really exciting, really fun. I know we've already mentioned a few, but like, just what's the one that sticks out the most to each of you? And it doesn't have to be from one of your games. It could just be from the event in general. And Travis, we'll start with you if you want to go first on this one.
I'm actually going to pick one from day 2. So my day 1 was fine. Finished in 90th at 3-4. Just wasn't seeing things, would see a bunch of things, and then, whatever the case may be. But day 2, they had the side events, and we were doing draft. I have drafted once in my life for a Magic event. And so we drafted set 3, and the first event that I played in, 4 of us were on Crush. And Brennan saw all of his Crush. The second event that I played in, there was, wasn't a lot of Crush, and I didn't really want to play it again. So I started drafting Yellow, and it ended up working because all of the really low-cost spirits were in Yellow, and there's no Floodstream in draft. So you can just aggro out all the people trying to play Mill. It was a scenario where Eric and I played in the top 4 of that second pod, where I forget the XR from the set.
Empress Guardian Red Queen. I have her pulled up because you destroyed me with this card, and I was not expecting it.
This card ended the game twice because I went aggro and then dropped this, removed the only blocker, and then just ended the game. But that card was a lot of fun and carried a lot of value in the matchup that wasn't Mill. But it was just a lot of fun to just sit there, go play cards, take literally 3 turns for the entire game, and say, do you have a response?
Yeah, no, you all big brained that second pod because everybody was fighting over blue and green and red, and nobody was taking purple, nobody was taking yellow. So you got anything you wanted, all the good cards that you had for those, and then the synergy between them. It was,
It's
especially
funny.
with purple being both of them able to go so aggro.
Yeah,
because I kept going the blue route because Mill's fun.
It's funny how undervalued the Empress Guardian Red Queen is, because I think that it got passed around the table Like it must have been like a pick, like a 6th or 7th pick for you, because I passed on it, and I'm pretty sure that pack was already
Passed
pretty
it.
low on cards.
That was actually, that one almost made it to me. So I actually took one, pack 1, pick 2.
Oh, really?
And then the one that you're talking about actually ended up in the guy next to me. He drafted it because it was an XR that far down. But yeah, no, had that fallen to me, we're in a danger zone. So, wouldn't mind having it for the collection. That's for sure.
What about you, Brennan? What was a memorable moment for you on the day, or either day, I guess?
I would say honestly, it was refreshing the page after round 7 stream finished up and see Andrew jump from 18 to 16.
Oh yeah.
That was probably it. Yeah,
We had to
'cause
hunt
I mean,
him down.
all the other stuff, we kind of hit on, but for the most part, my day, in Swiss was not as entertaining as Atlanta was. I had, the good game against Kai. But a lot of mine was just digging to find that last piece or two I needed to be able to do anything with the deck. So most of my day was spent, doing anything I could to see more cards. So it really wasn't too terribly exciting on that. Like other than, I got Nova bombed off the Schattenjäger, and then I killed a Nova with the Mara Bunny, killed a Turbo Rex with Mara Bunny, killed a Fang with Mara Bunny, core thefted a Fang, things like that. But no, the big highlight was seeing that top 16 next to Andrew's name after we were like, he was so close. He was there. We saw 18. We're like, that's still awesome. But then when stream wrapped up and we refreshed, that was sick.
Yeah,
It
we
was,
couldn't find him. We tried calling him and couldn't
yeah.
find him.
Yeah.
And then when we found him, we basically just like jumped him and started yelling.
Yeah.
I think he was just like,
He
"What's
was like,
going on?"
What's going on?
I jumped him and got the look of, what the hell are you talking about?
He didn't even believe us till he checked on his own phone.
No,
I
and
don't
then he
think.
checked it himself. Yeah.
So Andrew, was that your
Yeah.
highlight as well?
It was
Or...
like, let's go, boys. Let's go, boys.
So yeah, that was definitely probably like the best moment. Obviously, being able to get up in the top 16 was really cool. That was my first Pro Tour I'd went to. I had the option to go to Pro Tour 2 in Utrecht, but I just started a new job and there was no way I was going to be able to do it back then. So this was a first Pro Tour, first good experience, and something that I felt really good about the deck. I felt like I navigated Swiss well enough to where I had a good opportunity to place well and felt really comfortable into what to do into every matchup. Um, so I had high expectations for myself going into it, I guess, right off the bat. But top 16 was pretty much everything I could have asked for, honestly. I wish I would have got that last win and gotten into top 8 because I've still yet to make a day 2. I've been so close a couple times now, still can't make day 2, but we're working on it, and I think it's coming. I got a good feeling about it.
Save it for
So,
Worlds, you know?
that
That'd be a
exactly.
moment. That would be a moment for sure.
Yeah.
But that was definitely by far probably my favorite moment. I think my favorite play, I guess, that I made throughout the tournament was probably round 5. Yeah, round 5. So I played Richard from Absolute Ricefield. Awesome team name, by the way. And he was playing Gale, and he basically does the Gale thing, right? Where you swing with one and they thorn prison your other two, so your whole field's exhausted. And I think I had like 4 life left at this point, and he had 2. So he didn't have a lot of cards in hand, but he top decks the Fang, drops the Fang, and my whole board's exhausted. I had the Ice Shield set, but literally I was like, yeah, he's about to just bounce my board and deal 4 life right here, and this is about to be a world of hurt. So he swings with the Fang, and I think I played Strong Draw and killed off my Freestall and Hippo. Sent those both to trash so he wouldn't have bounce targets. Made him bounce my dual Eagle back so I could play it next turn for Phantasmal Paradise draws, and basically took the 2 life. He had 1 blocker up. Played the Eagle again the turn after that, top decked Gimbu and won the game. So it was like just the ultimate, like, yeah, this deck is cracked. And I was so hyped after that round. I was like, yeah, we're cooking now. We're cooking.
I think I saw
So-
you right after that round. You like stood up. You were like walking around like, I'm on fire. I'm on fire. This deck is fire.
Dude. So
Big man on campus.
this was
Yeah.
I was on a 4-game win streak. After that game, I was like, I just can't do any wrong right now. Like I just felt like everything was drawing correctly. I was making all the right plays, and then I got humbled really quick in round 6 by Andrew. So that happened. But after
like-
that, I mean, I played a really good round 7 against Tyler, and that ramp deck is just crazy. Like if you don't see your pieces, you just kind of lose to it. But thankfully I was playing yellow because yellow does have a really good matchup into it, and he had hard teched pretty hard for red. So really close game. I got it 2-1, but super good dude, super good player. Everyone I played this weekend, it was just really cool to kind of get to talk to them. There were some people that I played in events prior, and then there were some people I knew from events prior. So I got to play like almost like playing against friends, and that really helped me. I guess kind of from the comfortability aspect of it, just understanding that this is like a friendly game of battle spirits, and not really putting the pressure on me like I have to win this round, or I'm not going to make worlds, or I'm not going to win money. So just kind of viewing it as like, yeah, we're just sitting at the table playing a game, dude, and just like having like casual conversations with people. And Matt was really cool. Joe Ray from TD, super cool dude. Like just a couple of people shouting out. Like, I mean, every opponent I played was just awesome. So I would say top 16 is the highlight of the weekend. That play and that Gale matchup was probably my favorite play. And then just one of the like really cool moments was just I had really cool and good opponents all weekend, and I was just super happy that my Swiss went the way it did, and I got to play against all those people and have like a really, really good, enjoyable time.
That's awesome, dude. Yeah, great performance. It was a lot of fun, just being there with all of you as well, and the energy was really good. I felt like this past weekend. I definitely wish that we would have had a top 16 cut so that we could have watched you play. That would have been so cool. But hey, like I said, saving it for Worlds. So,
Can I real quick?
Yeah, we were-
yeah, go for
Can I
it.
give a quick shout out moment and a little backstory? So in Atlanta, round 8, I played against Josh DeRosa. It was a mirror match. It was fantastic. It was a good game, and I ended up knocking him out of whatever it was, top 32 bubble or whatever we were playing for. We paired into each other round 4 this weekend, both at 0-3. So we both understood the concept that was coming, and we had a fantastic game. He was fantastic all weekend. It was just funny that both weekends for one of us had to end that way.
Yeah. Oh man.
It was we said
That's tough one.
I looked at Brennan because I had my phone. I looked at the name. I was like, I think I know this name. Do we know this? He's like, no, I don't know. And I sat down. I was like, oh yeah, here we go.
Oh, I remember you.
Yeah, we immediately were like, oh shit, here we go again. Same scenario, by the way.
For me, so I ended up in 45th, which I was really happy with because the main thing I was going there for was to get my Worlds invite. That was like the main reason I wanted to go, and the main thing I wanted to accomplish. And I did that. Going into round 7, the pressure was off because I knew I was going to be in the top 64 regardless of the outcome of my match. But I still wanted to play my hardest because, higher placing, more money, more prizes. So I ended up going against, going into the round, I checked my ranking because they had rankings on for this, so you could actually see where you stood after each round. And I believe I was in like the kind of like mid 30s. So I was like, okay, if I win this, I could be bumped up to top 32. That'd be pretty sick. And so I end up going up against Travis from Travi CCG, I believe is his channel's name on YouTube. Super cool guy. We had a lot of fun with our games, but they were just like super grindy games, and we ended up going into game 3. And I even said, as we were starting game 3, I was like, this has been a lot of fun, man. These were great games. Let's not let's try not to go to time and like actually play this one out. And he was like, agreed. And so we start playing. Like immediately after I said that, they're like, players, that's 15 minutes left in the round. And both of us were just like, oh no. And so we were like going at it like super quick. Like we were just like trying to, like, we didn't want to make any misplays or mistakes, but we were trying to finish the game. And it just got to a point where overtime got called, and then we had to go to like 0, 1, 2, 3. And unfortunately, we ran out of time. I was at 2 life. He was at 3. I swung in with the hippo because I was like, if I can hit him with the hippo, I get a life, he loses a life. I go up to 3, he goes down to 2. Time is probably going to get called or we'll run out of turns and I'll win. But he had the dream bomb. He had 2 cards in hand, I believe, and one of them was the dream bomb. So he dream bombed the hippo. It went back over to him, and then like right after it went back over to him, the judge was like, all right, that's it. Whatever life totals are at, that's who wins. And so he went to call the judge over, and I was like, we don't even have to call the judge. Like, you're at 3, I'm at 2, the time's over, like it's done. And we were both kind of just like, man, it sucks that it ended this way. But I picked it as my most memorable moment just because it was like, it was one of those things where I was, even though it was like kind of a sucky way for that to end, it was still like just such a fun game. Like, I think that was honestly my favorite game all day was my match against him. So a huge shout out. Also a huge shout out to, I think my round 3 opponent, his name is Dorian. I've seen him at a few events, and he always comes up to me and says that he loves our show. So I really appreciate that. I had a lot of fun in our match as well. He was playing purple. And so purple is the matchup that I'm scared of sometimes because purple just scares me all the time. I'm always scared of purple. But had a ton of fun and
the bane of
lots
mine.
of great games.
Purple can do a lot of things. That's what makes it scary.
Yeah. No, I'm with the yellow deck. I am 0-3. All against the purple. I just never see any removal. I never see what I need to get any kind of value engine going. It's just
Yeah.
and they
you
just go so quick and aggro. It's like, all right.
yeah, you never know
I
what
see
they're gonna
this or
do.
this, we're good. We're going, and it's not there when I need it. Yep.
You never know what they're
they
gonna
can
do.
slow
It's
play
like
you a little bit and grind you out with a little bit of poke, or it's
they're gonna
it's
remove
fun
my
whenever you
cores.
can
They're
get it going.
gonna
That's a really fun matchup.
they're gonna curse me.
Yeah.
They're gonna just draw. Usually the thing that bothers me about purple is like I'm supposed to be the one drawing cards off my Phantasmal, but they're just over there like, okay, play this, draw 2, play this, draw 1, swing, draw 1. Like purple doing purple stuff.
In Atlanta, I had a purple deck. A purple deck drew 12 cards off of 1 attack step. Like double or triple rotting. They had like double or triple rotting. They had costume artist.
I was gonna say, yeah. I was gonna say
We're
it
like-
has to have been costume
We're like
artist.
10 minutes into the game. Yeah, we're like 10 minutes into the game, and they're already down to like 12 cards left in deck. I was like, all right. Fun.
Yeah, you're like no flash, and then
No,
they're like,
I'm-
let me look through my entire deck in my hands and see if I have a flash.
Let's do
What's
Thorn
not
Prison
in the
here.
deck? Hold
Thorn
on.
Prison
Yeah.
here. I'm going to fourth theft here. All right, here's 2 deadly balance. I'm like, nice. Next, all right, scoop.
I'm
Let's
still
go again.
jealous that Aspira got that huge Maduke card.
Oh yeah. Even after I gave you my raffle tickets, you didn't get it. That sucks.
He got the playmat. Like he immediately got the. They were playing against each other, and Asira's like, "Hold on, I gotta go get this." Gets the card, comes back to the table. They draw for the playmat. Andrew wins the playmat. He's like, "Hold on, I gotta go get this."
That's still cool, but not as cool as a giant
It's
Maduke.
pretty awesome. We'll get it one day.
So last little segment here before we get into some fun, some more news about the Midwest tournament that we talked about in the last episode. But before we get into that, I just wanted us all to share our thoughts about the meta going into Worlds. What are we thinking? Do we think that yellow truly is the best deck, or do you think that people are going to start trying to tech against yellow? I think this yellow deck, like ours and the TD yellow deck, is quite odd because normally you would be like, okay, well, if yellow's big, I'll just play red. But I think these decks have really good matchups into the red matchups. So I don't know what you would do if you wanted to counter it. So yeah, what's everybody's thoughts? What do you think is going to be big at Worlds? What do you think people are going to play?
I think it's a comfort zone tournament. I think you're going to see a lot of red just because that's what a lot of players are comfortable with right now. And with how yellow just did, I mean, we might see less yellow due to maybe a higher expected of red, but I think you're going to see players who are like, oh, yellow is still really good into red. And red players are like, you know what, this is my comfort deck. I know what I'm doing. I'm going to trust the process. So I think you're going to see a good splash into both of those. I think due to that, you're going to see a lot of white control. And I think the oddball that, like, if I had to give you a hot take on this, I think the oddball is Gale probably gets left as like the fifth or sixth most played deck. I think it'll see a significant drop when it comes to coming to Worlds. You either want consistency or you want something right? There is no second chance on this thing. This is it, right? There is only one inaugural champion. So I think you either go comfort zone or you go with something that's consistent. And I think Gale, unless I'm missing something, right now is missing that last piece.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I think you can kind of look at the green conversion rate on that too and see that Gale just it's the lottery machine. It either goes burr and wins and doesn't miss a beat, or that Highlands is buried, the All-Rain's buried, and they just got nothing going, and they just get smoked. But yeah, no, I definitely think the meta being a mix of a lot of viable decks and the Swiss lottery being the lottery that it is, and just the way it can all play out. I do think it's probably going to be a more comfort based tournament. You're going to knowing what you need to do in each matchup is critical. Or definitely I think the yellow deck is the yellow the Fabled Beast package, and then you can add whatever other 10 cards you might want to. I think that is the best deck in format. I don't think it's close, and I mean it's been that way for if you look now, we got two pro tours that are won by Yellow Fable Beast. You've got Utrecht Grand Open. You've got you know um what was it, Utrecht Grand Open? Yeah, that was that. And then we just had the pro tour. So I mean, I think Yellow's just really outperformed um the top end just because of what you're able to do with it. It's got so much value creation that you can get going. Red's always gonna do red things because it can go fast, it can hit hard, hit high, and it can draw a lot of cards as well. Um, Purple is very matchup dependent, I think, to get its max value going. Where red and yellow don't care. I'm guaranteeing card draw. Where purple needs a lot of setup, or the opponent to do a certain thing to get their value going. But they don't have the easy core ramp like yellow does. So that's why I think yellow just keeps taking it to them. But they can go aggro and you don't see any of your magical removal, then you're just they're going to get that match. Um, I still think there's a lot of room for mid range white tempo. Um, It really, I think the deciding factor at Worlds will be how many flood streams people are running.
Mm.
That's what I
And
think Worlds will come down to. I think flood stream is either going to be what dominates that tournament, or we just don't see it as much for one reason or another.
I think it's fair.
I think
So,
Floodstream's going to gatekeep something. It's just a matter of what.
personally, from what like I've noticed with like these last two tournaments, is if you're playing aggro, you don't care. You don't care if they have Bloodstream. It's basically draw. Here's your hand. Are you keeping? All right, show me Floodstream. Okay, we'll go to game two.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
not,
You got flood stream, Riot Shield.
we'll go to game two anyways because I'm about to just kill you.
yeah,
And I think that's why aggro just keeps placing so well in these events. Um, I know it didn't get a top 8 this time, but it had multiple top performers in Atlanta, and I think there was 2 of them that were in the top 16.
yeah.
So,
There were two white
white
aggro decks
aggro,
in top 16.
yeah, white aggro is still insanely scary. I'm glad I dodged it all day.
Yeah.
I feel like I have like a decent chance into that deck. I just hate playing against it because they make you see it. So it's not like, oh, I can start a Nexus and I'll see it in like 4 to 5 turns. I should be able to survive until then. It's like, hey, if you don't start with this, you're dead.
Yep.
And I think that's why it's such a good pick. I, regardless of what people say, I do think that white aggro actually has a lot of choices to be made when you do play it. You do kind of have to understand your matchups on when can I go super wide, when do I have to core up like a couple guys. Like there are thought processes to playing aggro, and I think that's what a lot of people don't realize. Um, but all in all, it's just insanely consistent. Um, it's like a 99.5% chance that you're not gonna mulligan anytime you play aggro. So you're always going to have card advantage if they have to mulligan. And there's a lot of times when your opponent will know what you're playing. And in round 2, they have to mulligan. So they're automatically going to be a card down. And they just have to look and search to see what they need to see to try to sustain and survive your matchup. So I think we'll see a lot of that at probably Worlds. Worlds has a lot of money on the line. So they want to play something that's pretty consistent. And I think that's not a bad choice. I also think that the ramp decks that are going around. I think those have a lot of potential, I guess is the best way to put it. Probably see a decent amount of them at Worlds as they get a little bit more refined. They've really came up big these last 2 weeks. Obviously, Kaz kind of put it on the map with his big day in Atlanta and getting into the top 4 after day 1 of Swiss. And then this weekend, there was a really good amount of people playing the ramp deck from what I saw. So that'll get worked on, that'll get refined, and I think we'll see a lot of people who are really trying to fit some like spicy tech options into it, because it is kind of the same premise as Gale, right? Um, that you just have all the cores that you need to do whatever you want, and there's nothing that they can really do about it. The only issue is you get hard punished by Starblast Draw. Um, but there is a plus side to it, and you're not running Nexus. So in a game where people are playing Nexus, and Nexus can either be like your do or die part of your deck, you're not worried about that. You're not really worried about opponents' Sturm Dynas because you don't have Nexuses. Like, there's just a lot of different positive things that go along with playing that deck. And I think it has a lot of potential to be something extremely viable here going into Worlds. And it'll be fun to see what people come up with it.
The interesting thing about that deck is because it doesn't run Nexuses, if you run into it all day, your Durham Dinos are just blank cards. Like if you run into the mirror match all day. So it's interesting if that deck style becomes very popular. Like how that would
People
play
were
out.
playing Dream Bombs. Or not Dream Bombs, I'm sorry. Dream Blizzard? Is that what it's called? The one that bounces on Nexuses to hand? That was actually kind of popular this weekend.
I heard about a guy who accidentally put this in his deck list and then he had to play with it because he put this instead of Dream Bomb, which is really funny.
I wonder if it worked. I wonder if it ever did anything for him.
Mode. He was in panic mode trying to find them too because hardly anybody even brought their full kits with them. So nobody had Dream Blizzard. I think he ended up buying a box or something and to get a couple.
He bought a box of
one
set
booster box and pulled all 4 that he need. Yeah.
I mean, hey, for the cost of 4, you can give something 3,000 BP.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, a lot of the decks now are like very Nexus dependent. That's it's cheaper than removing all of them, and it takes less of your tempo away. So it honestly might be a big brain play going forward because it does. Like if you're playing off color and you have to play a Burning Force or a Feral, like that can hurt.
If yellow
if you're already
stays
on
popular,
white, you run Dream Blizzard, you can take 3 or 4 off the board for a turn. But
if yellow stays popular, watch for that card to maybe sneak into a sideboard or 2 for white control.
I've thought about it.
Yep.
Yeah. I think that's fair.
I thought about it when I was running into a bunch of blue when we were just playing around locals. Running into a bunch of blue when I was on white. I was like, get rid of these rock pillars, get all this mill crap out of my face because you're hitting every elephant and everything I need. So
Get
maybe
these
this will
seabed
survive. I can
lighthouses
get
out of
rid
here.
Yes. Gosh.
I guess, am I the only one who hasn't talked about this yet?
Yeah.
My
Yep.
world's thoughts. I guess I kind of did at the beginning. Like, I do think yellow is positioned best, so I think we'll see lots of yellow, especially after the performance. Most recent Pro Tour leading into Worlds, we see yellow win. Half of the top cut were on yellow. Granted, they were all on the same team, so they were playing the same deck, and they're all good players as well, so, you know, you have to consider that. But, yeah, I think we're going to see lots of yellow. Like I said, I don't know that with yellow's current package that you can just hard counter it necessarily, because I think it does so many different things so well. So that's definitely something I'm gonna have to think about. Is if I do play yellow and I go into the mirror, what am I gonna have for that? And if I don't play yellow, what am I gonna have to deal with yellow? Because I think we're gonna see quite a bit of it. I think we're going to see quite a bit of, as Andrew mentioned, these like ramp decks. I played against two of them, maybe three. I think two for sure during Swiss at the Pro Tour, and they're fun decks. I actually would like to try one just to see how I feel about it, to see if it's something I would like. I do like that kind of more like toolboxy kind of style of deck. Which is also why I like the yellow deck, because I feel like the yellow deck has so many tools to deal with things as well, between Exhaust Nexus and Flagellum, and then also Genbu Eagle. Like, all of those cards feel a bit toolboxy as well. But yeah, I think it's going to be a diverse meta at Worlds, but I think we'll see a lot of the same of what we've been seeing, but maybe tuned just a little bit better. And definitely some aggro. I lost to white aggro. One of the white aggro decks that ended up in top 16, actually, I lost to Marquise in round 5, I believe. I went into that round feeling kind of not great after eating an ice cream sandwich. And it just like upset my stomach a little bit. I ate another one the next day because it was just that good, but yeah, it messed with my stomach. But I was not thinking straight. He was playing white aggro, caught me off guard game 1. Game 2, I was kind of like tilted already, and then I was just like, I made this misplay where I miscounted my cores, and I only had 2 cores left after I played a Flagellum with my Ice Shield set, and I'm like, I just straight up said to him, I was like, I die here, right? And he's like, yeah, I think so. And I was like, cool. All right, well, you got it. And just scooped up my cards. So that was the easiest win of the day for him. But, you know, stuff like that happens sometimes. I just had to recover from that, and I did in the next couple rounds. But anyways, yeah, I think we'll see a pretty diverse meta at Worlds. I think yellow, white, rainbow ramp, whatever they're calling that deck. So definitely pack some Star Blessed to deal with the ramp deck. I triggered quite a few during my matches against them. And then for yellow, I don't know, man. I think the only way to deal with yellow is if you're playing yellow yourself. But I don't know. Maybe somebody else out there, maybe even us, will come up with whatever the next spice is to deal with the Flagellum menace. Cool. Anything else that you all want to add before I was going to have Brennan here introduce, or I guess we already introduced it, but give us some more info about the Midwest tournament that you all are planning. Anything else you guys want to talk about before we get into that?
Only other thing I got to say is from the tournament. Thank you for the people who like came up to me. This is like the past 2 tournaments. Just from hanging out with you guys here on the podcast, Eric, and just saying, "Hey, saw the last episode. Like you're doing a great job." Like things like that. Like still somewhat new to me, but it's still really cool, and I think it's something that has allowed me to kind of branch out into the community a little bit more. Just being
Yeah.
able to meet some really cool people, say, I liked your thoughts and I liked your basically insight on this, and it kind of helped me pick this. And it's been really cool. So if you have been listening and maybe you just hate me and hope I get off of this thing, that's cool. Or if you do like what I've been doing on here, and you would like to like talk about it or reach out to me or something, like I'm always on Discord, so just hit me up. I love talking to you guys about it, and thank you guys for all the positive feedback that I've received so far.
Hell yeah, man. Yeah, it's very weird and super cool that even though our show is, you know, relative to other YouTube channels, like it's a pretty small show, but anytime I go anywhere to any event, people are like, "Oh, hey, you're that guy." They don't know my name or like anything else about me, but or even necessarily the name of my YouTube channel, but they're like, "You're that guy." That one guy, I know you. And yeah, the dude with the face. Yeah, I remember your face. It was actually funny. I was hanging out in the hotel lobby with like D from Play TCG and Cosmic and Roman and Aspira. Like all those people were hanging out in that little back room over there. And I just went and sat with them and chatted a little bit. And D said she was like, "Oh, who are those one guys who have that really funny shirt? It says like total BS or something on it." And then I was like, "This shirt?" And I like showed it to her and she was like, "Yes." She was like, "That's hilarious." And then I was like, "Yeah, it's actually a show. And it's called Absolute BSS. So it's more than a shirt." But and then Aspiro was like, "Yeah, it's the premier casualpetitive podcast." So it was so funny. But yeah, it's fun that we have a cool little community of people, and it's nice that you know, we do have some content creators in our community that are like kind of on the larger end, but I think it's neat that, you know, is they just kind of act like regular everyday dudes and are totally chill. Like I think, you know, you go up to Cosmic, you can ask him anything you want to ask him. He'll talk to you and, you know, shake your hand, whatever you want to do, whatever you want to chat about. So super cool dude. And, you know, it's nice that we have a fun, welcoming community for this game.
Yeah, that's been huge. Like there was, like I said, I never got big into card games when I was younger, or even really even a handful of years ago, because the exposure was like Yu-Gi-Oh or Magic, and like the communities, at least kind of locally, and what was up at school, were just not the type of people I even cared to be around with, or there was a lot of ego, a lot of you know false senses of superiority, and I just didn't. That's not my type. Like
Yeah,
you're you play with cardboard. Like at the end of the day, you're playing with shiny cardboard. Let's be honest here. But no, that's the exact opposite with this group. Um, no, the Battle Spirits community is hilarious. They're hilarious.
yeah,
Everybody from the top down, everybody's approachable. Everybody's cool. A couple may be a little kind of like standoffish at first, but once you kind of get that first conversation going, you realize that everybody's cool. Everybody's funny. Everybody's chill.
yeah.
So it's always that for me. Like it's more fun to go to the events and see everybody than really just to sit down and play. Like that's just the added bonus.
Absolutely, I totally agree. Well, speaking of events, that's actually a great segue. Brennan, do you want to share some more information about the Midwest or Indiana BSS tournament that you all are hosting that we talked about last time?
Yeah. So this has been kind of like something we like a little something we wanted to do, kind of like a little like dream project that Andrew and I have been talking about for really probably since we went to Columbus, about something we wanted to kind of get going. And then maybe a month and a half ago, I just we were like, let's do it. Right, we're going to do it. So to make sure that we were not going to let it die, I went ahead and ordered the some of the prizing. So paid the money for the prizing. It's in the house. It's ready to go. So we have to do this. Have to do it now. There's we're locked in. But yeah. So on February 10th, we're going to be hosting the Midwest Invitational. We can call it Invitational, but Midwest Tournament. It's going to be hosted by the Indiana BSS Facebook group. And we're partnering, obviously here with Absolute BSS. Um, still trying to get an idea of how big the turnout may be to figure out which venue we're going to do that. Ideally, we'll do it at our local Bulldog. Show Scott some love, just with how awesome he's been for us and with us, and got us into the game, and has been a big proponent and always there for whatever we need. Just awesome guy, plays with us as well. That's a big piece. Is we've been able to grow our community there, because of just how Scott is and who he is as a person. He's really allowed us to you know really go push, get people in, and he does it himself. He sells the game just as much as we do because he loves it as well. So ideally it'll be there, which is just on the west side of Indy, and we're calling it like the Midwest tournament, but it's really open to anybody that wants to make the trip out to Indianapolis for one reason or the other. And we're definitely going to have an updated ban list for this event. We want it to be a shakeup after Worlds, kind of going at post Worlds into year two. We want it to be a fun event, so we're going to have a posted. We haven't it's nothing that's posted yet, but we'll have a posted updated bans or limit list. We will have some minor tweaks to some of the tournament rules as well. Try something new out, and then we have the participation pricing on the way, and we'll have a big reveal for that here, hopefully in the next like 2 weeks. Have the big official post with the reveal. We'll tease out the pricing. Try to get some hype and get some people that may want to make the 2 or 3 hour drive up to Indy to come play with us. And then the last final piece is we will have a top four cut that will be streamed as well. With the rest of it, there'll be a top four cut.
Nice. Yeah, I'm really excited about this. When you guys first approached me and you were like, "Hey, can we get some tokens for the prizing?" I was excited to help with that. And then as we were talking about it, I was like, "Man, there's actually like so many cool things you could do with this." And that's kind of when my wheels started turning, where I was like, I've always wanted to live cast an event, and this would be a really fun one to do because I think for Absolute BSS, like we're a little we're kind of a goofy show. Like we play in competitive events, but we're not like the people that on the top tables, like winning. Yeah. So it's like we know how to play the game, we know the cards, we know what people are trying to do with their decks generally, but like I think we'd have more fun casting an event that's much more casual than it is like super competitive. But at the same time, bringing this somewhat competitive atmosphere to this event where we do have like exclusive prizing and a feature table where we're streaming matches, I think is going to be super fun. And maybe for some people, it could be like their first kind of entry into a Battle Spirits event that's not just like a store tournament. And then maybe those people will go on to play in the Grand Open or play in a Pro Tour, even if they can get their invite. So definitely come on out and experience this with us. I think it'll be a ton of fun. You will not be going home empty-handed. There will be lots of there will be lots of participation prizes that I've made and printed and are on the way, and I'm gonna have some stuff with me as well, of course, to give out to people too. So definitely come on out. It'll be a ton of fun. Super excited about it, and we'll continue mentioning it with each episode of Absolute BSS to not let people forget that it's happening, and we'll share more info as we have it as well. If you are listening to this right now and you would like to attend this and you want to come and you're planning on coming, let us know down in the comments. If you're watching this on YouTube, just go ahead and leave a comment that you would like to come. Also, if like you need a place to stay or something like that, I'm sure we're going to have quite a few people locally going to this as well. And, like we were just talking about with the Battle Spirits community, lots of super cool, chill people. So who knows, maybe we can chat up in the Discord, find you a couch to sleep on if it's a bit of a trek for you to get out here, or get out there to Indiana. But we'll figure it out. It'll be tons of fun. And I hope to see a lot of people there.
For sure.
Yeah, we'll love to get as many people as we can. We are prepared for up to maybe probably 35 people, 35, 40. We'll be prepared for that. But yeah, even if we're significantly lower than that, no matter what the turnout is, we're going to have a top four cut. I just don't I would like to do more than that, but I think we'll be stressed for timing, during the day, or even if we stretch to a second day. I just don't want to make people have to commit to driving out and, spend 9 to 12, 13 hours in any. But, if we get the turnout and it makes sense to do a top 8, we'll definitely do a top 8. But for at bare minimum, there'll be a top 4 cut.
Nice.
Definitely. Hey, that's a good call.
And sometimes you never know who might show their face. That's the other
Yep.
thing too.
We've had some interesting names pop up with a lot of interest, I know, but it's just a matter of it being, right after the holidays, and it would be some difficult travel. So but we've had there's it's been pretty surprising and really exciting with some of the people that have kind of thrown their hands up already with some of the conversations I've had on the side, trying to like get ideas on maybe how we should do the event or what kind of tweaks and stuff we should do to make it really fun. That's the whole point of it, is for it to be fun and something new, a little bit of a shake up post Worlds, and like to hype up, year 2.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm interested to see. Obviously, the you're talking about doing like a custom band and limit list. Are you gonna wait and see what kind of happens at Worlds before you land on what's going on the list?
Yeah, we'll definitely wait till post Worlds. I mean, that
Sweet.
is like a 2-week turnaround time for people. But I mean, if Bandai comes out with their own change prior to Worlds, then we may do something a little sooner.
Yeah.
Or we'll just have it posted immediately after Worlds to get people that need that time to figure out what they're going to do. So it won't be a last minute thing. It'll either be immediately after Worlds, or it'll be when if Bandai themselves make an update. So
Sweet.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that'll be lots of fun too. Is playing in a unique format as well.
Yeah. Want to see
That's
some
sweet.
some chaos. Love the chaos, the kooky decks, and let's get it going.
Yeah. Well, cool. It's been a pleasure having you all on. Thanks for joining me. Definitely excited to go into year 2 of this game. As far as what's next for the show, I do want to share some updates there. So this is going to be the last episode of the year for Absolute BSS. We're not going to record another one until January. Everyone is super busy with the holiday season, so it's just not happening. I was thinking we could maybe try to do something fun or kind of weird for Christmas, like I don't know, like a Christmas special or something, but it just wasn't going to work. Everybody was too busy. But we're going to start next year. Cam and I were just chatting about it. I think we're going to consider it season 2 of Absolute BSS. I don't really think there's anything different from season 1, but it'll just be more of the same. I think one of the big things we want to try and do is have more guests on. So it's been awesome having you all on today and having Andrew on recently as well. We got to hang out with Shorty, who's the host of the Magic Beans podcast. He stayed at our Airbnb in Atlanta, and him and I were talking about ways that we could collaborate together, maybe have him on, talk a bit about Magic the Gathering, talk about Battle Spirit Saga, since Magic's kind of his thing. And also just like having a wide variety of people on the show to get different perspectives and different thoughts and ideas. So I think that's kind of the main direction we're going to try and go with into next year. Is definitely do some more interview style content and do more just like guest appearances on the show. And we also have some fun content planned that'll just be videos only on the YouTube channel, as well as maybe some live streams that we're going to try and do. So obviously at the Indiana BSS tournament, we're going to be live streaming that. So definitely subscribe to the channel. And speaking of subscribing, we are currently, as of this recording, 12 subscribers away from 100 subscribers. And at 100 subscribers, we do Battle Shot Saga, where all of our life cores are shot glasses full of alcohol. So and you have to drink them when you lose life. So if you want to see that happen, and you want to see Cam and I and maybe some other people who are guests of the show or friends of ours get really silly on stream, and hopefully not get banned off of YouTube for it, subscribe to the channel. And once we hit 100 subscribers, we'll put that in motion and get that going. So you could be the 100th subscriber listener who's listening right now. That could be you. You could be the one who makes it happen. That's pretty much it. That's all I've got on my end. Anything else you all want to add? Any plugs you want to give for any shout outs or anything from each of you?
Rest in peace, Cam, for being the yellow player during Battleshot Saga. He's just gonna heal up from Bless and down a whole fifth in the first game.
Yeah, that'd be If I'm playing against him, that would be my strategies. I'm swinging out, let him swing in for life, keep gaining more, and
I was gonna say that may God have mercy on those who play Nova or Yellow that week.
Well, awesome. Thanks, y'all, and thanks for joining me today, and thanks for listening, everybody. We will catch you next time. See ya.